Good afternoon, staff. It's Friday afternoon. Wanted to come to you with another update of just making sure we're keeping everything, keeping you completely updated on all the changes that are going on. There's a few things that are new, but a lot of these are reminders. Just want to make sure you know that PowerSchool is definitely updated. T4 and T5 right now are averaging in the F1 column. So if you're kind of wondering what that C19 column is there that I mentioned before, just kind of ignore it for right now. It looks like T4, T5 are averaging in that F1 column for the kids, and you can explain that to your students if you want to, that's how that's working. T4, again, just because I've had a few calls from you this week, T4 is a baseline. The grade's not going to drop below T4's grade no matter what happens for the rest of the semester. You've got students who are participating fully, students who are participating partially, and students aren't participating at all. And so that T5 column is going to affect their F1 grade, and we just want to make sure you know that that T4 grade is going to be a baseline. We'll give you more explanation on that. We'll need your help at the end, making sure the right grade goes in for the student. And truthfully, we're probably going to need some help from you in helping us decide what code the student's going to take, whether they're going to take the numerical grade or they're going to take the PC19 or the WC19 in the end. But again, we'll give you a lot more help and instruction on how to help us with that. If you start thinking about the number of times we're going to have to touch this, with each student having 4 grades and us having 900 students, it's a lot of data points, so we're going to need help with that in the end. The counselors and Ms. Bunn won't be able to touch all 3,600 of those data points at the end of the semester. So just bear with us right now. Just keep concentrating on giving students updated learning opportunities and making sure you're communicating to them how you're grading that, and that T4 and T5 are calculating in that F1 column. And this is their opportunity to improve that grade from T4. And for some students that's important, and some students they're probably not thinking it's all that important. If you have a student who's not participating at all, you kind of have to gauge, especially a senior who's not participating at all, you have to gauge how many of those zeros you want to put in there and create a lot of phone calls to you. That's just kind of up to you. You'll have to decide that. But obviously at some point in time, if students aren't doing the assignments, you will have to record those as zeros in PowerSchool. Obviously, I would continue to communicate to the child that they have opportunities to make those assignments up. Just because it's a 0 doesn't mean it's final. Give them opportunities to go back and redo those assignments if they like. I talked to Ms. Ballard, and I'll give her a little bit of a shout out here yesterday afternoon, and she talked about the Spanish department's grading of this, and sounds pretty reasonable the way they're doing it. So students are getting hundreds or zeros based on whether or not they're staying engaged in doing assignments. So they're not really necessarily, they're grading the assignment, the kids getting the feedback, they know what's right and wrong, but as far as what goes into PowerSchool, they're getting 100 or a 0, and that's a reward for those students who are remaining engaged with their teachers during this time. Remember, that's the goal, is we're wanting to reward students for staying engaged with their teachers during this time. Obviously, we have a lot that aren't. And they're also going back to, they're giving assignment, if an assignment was between March 11th and April 20th, which was really optional, they're either exempting the student or giving them the 100 for those grades. So students who did that work get credit for it, but students who did not during that optional period aren't being penalized. I thought that was pretty reasonable. I'm sure Ms. Ballard would love to talk to any of you about that if you have questions. That doesn't have to be your grading. You've got control over your grading. It's just if you're trying to think of how you deal with those two situations, there's an idea. A lot of questions from teachers about an exam type or a final type assignment. Not going to tell you yes or no on that. That's really up to you. I just want to make sure PLCs are doing things the same way during this time, both from a grading standpoint as well as whether or not you're doing a final type assignment. Just make sure PLCs are doing that the same. Also, just think about, as we get closer and closer to the end, students' mindsets about big assignments like that. So just think about that and be very reasonable as we approach that time. We will get some information out to you about when you'll need to shut your grades down. I've heard June 7th, and I've heard, it may be even earlier than that. So just bear with us. We are supposed to continue to provide learning opportunities through June 9th, but obviously that last week will be kind of a challenging time to put too much out there, get it graded and into PowerSchool so that you can put it in your calculations. We'll give you more information on that as we go along. All right, the big piece of news that you may have heard is seniors have been added along with 9th and 11th graders to the choice menu of their grades. Before, seniors were just PC or WC, and it was based on their T4 grade. So our Board of Education, Union County Board of Education, has actually decided that seniors are going to have those same options that everybody else. I'm not advertising this too widely. I don't know how many seniors we have that have stayed engaged with us, but just to understand, if you have a student who has stayed engaged with you and continues to improve their grade, record that in PowerSchool just like you're doing 9th through 11th graders. And also understand that if a senior had an A at the end of T4, they're going to have the option of taking that as an A rather than just a pass. So this is just a very new development from our Board of Education, not from the state board, from the Union County Board of Education. So just don't worry about it too much. If you have questions, call me, but basically just make sure that you're keeping up with those seniors who are staying engaged. Keep up with their grades just like you're keeping up with everybody else's in PowerSchool. Again, if you've got a senior who's not done anything, you have to decide, do you want to dump all those zeros in there since then, knowing that their T4 grade is going to stand and create anxiety and phone calls and emails to you that you may have to spend a lot of time answering? That's up to you. But just seniors are just basically being added into the menu with 9th through 11th graders with the same options that they have. All right, let's see. Remember, just again, I keep saying this over and over and over, the goal here is to benefit the student, not to hurt them. Remember, some students are not engaged because they're being lazy, but some students are not engaged because they've got tough situations going on at home. So just remember, the goal here is to benefit kids, work with kids who are staying engaged, and try to help them. All right. School, I think you need to be prepared, mentally prepared for school starting early this coming year. Senate Bill 704, if you've paid attention, mandates that schools start as early as the 17th. Our board and our superintendent are trying to work through that because we've got that added layer of the 24th. The week of the 24th is the Republican National Convention, and law enforcement is telling us, Cabarrus and Mecklenburg County, not to be in session that week. So it's kind of a weird situation where we may be in school, out of school for a period of time. So just stand by, but be prepared for the fact that school may start early next year. We'll get more information out to you as soon as it's definitive and a new calendar is in place. But I just want to give you an early heads up. Right now, we're supposed to start on the 34th with work days the week before. It looks like that's going to get moved up in some way, some fashion. So just be prepared for that. Make sure you don't have anything big planned right before school starts, with this being very, very fluid. All right, I think that's all I've got for you. A lot of that is just updates and minor adjustments. We'll be coming back to you soon with more information to give you more definitive answers about all that, but I'm trying to keep you as informed as I possibly can as I'm finding out things. Again, fluidity is the right word here. This is a very, very fluid, very, very changing situation, so we appreciate your patience. Hopefully we're not adding stress to you by not being able to give you final answers on some of this stuff, but I appreciate all you're doing. Thank you so much. I'm really proud of Jacket Nation. I know this is tough, and we don't always feel like we're being real successful here, as many students as we're having drop off from doing their work at this point, but I know that's not from a lack of your trying and your effort. So thank you for all you're doing. Call me if you need me. I hope you have a great Friday afternoon and have a wonderful weekend.